Hello, everybody, and welcome to another amazing episode of the Workerslife podcast. It is me, your host, Ipunganenu Elisha Nontawasansele. And in today's episode, we're having a conversation around the economic changes, political decisions, and the movements in our country that are affecting South Africans directly. With the knowledge and experience that he has gained over the years in the financial sector, we're talking about over 30 years. Today, we have the honor of having a conversation with our Chief Financial Officer, Jannie Marais. Jannie, how are you?
Very good.
I'm good, thank you. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Okay, now let's start right and jump into it. Okay, so what key financial principles do you believe everyone should understand regardless of their profession?
I think when it comes to our profession, we always have a challenge with people looking at a balance sheet and they don't really understand what's on a balance sheet. But the main thing is cash. Cash is king. So, whenever I look at with all our personnel across many, many years, there's always this thing of when they look at the profit line, they'll say, oh, but you got money in the business. But the problem is, you got to look at the whole picture. You got to look at the balance sheet. We've got capital expenditure. And the things you need to understand is cash. Cash is what makes the business drive. So, when you look at a budget, we always find that people look at the budget as a target to achieve, spend so much money as you can. But the problem is, the budget can at times be an inhibitor or a preventer of actually getting you to your goals.
Okay.
It's all about return on investment. So if you're going to put certain money into something, you've got to make sure that you've got a good return on your investment. And that sometimes means that you can't just work according to the number that's in the budget, but you actually have to look at, what is this thing that you want to achieve? Sometimes by putting the money and you're spending the money, you're not actually getting money coming in. I will talk marketing expenses as an example.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money in marketing, but we always don't get the return. We may be spending the money in the wrong places. So everything in this world is about putting it out there and making sure that you get a return on investment. Because who are we doing this for? We're doing this for our clients.
Mm-hmm.
It's their money. We have to invest it wisely. We have to make sure that our shareholders get their stakeholders get their money. And our personnel gets looked after. It's all about sustainability. So if we have to break it down as a normal person in the street, the main things you need to understand is you need to know what an income statement is, and that the profit is not your money that you made. You've got to look at the cash flow and see how much money you got in the bank, because that's, you got to make sure that you've got cash to do business. And that's really all it's about, and shareholder wealth creation. So that's really the essentials.
Okay, if I'm hearing you correctly and I'm understanding correctly, so now when you're talking about cash flow or profits not necessarily translating into money, are we then saying that profits are not necessarily liquidity? We don't have the money in liquidity.
We can show high profits,
Yeah.
but you can have no money in the bank because your money might be tied up in
Your
debtors.
assets and this and this and, that.
You've bought too many assets. So you've got profit. I found many instances where we'll show the guy his profit and he has to pay tax. But he can't afford the tax because his money bought a nice new Lamborghini.
Yes.
So the money is stuck in the balance sheet.
Yes.
So that's the challenge. So you have to be careful that you don't look at the bottom, because what I find is whenever we present management accounts to any audience, they look at the profit, they go, wow, you've made a good profit.
Yes.
But really it's what's in the bank. How do you manage your working capital? Are you paying suppliers when you're supposed to? So it's a balancing act at all times, but the cash flow is probably the most critical document in the financials. So you got to look at what's cash in bank.
Yeah, I've heard this about finance. You can correct me, but apparently there's a saying that you should pay your is it debtors or creditors faster, slower than the debtors. Wait, let me see.
Yeah. So it's just the other way around. You've got your debtors pay you slow. Okay. So that you got to make sure you don't pay your suppliers too fast, because you got to wait for them the money to come in from the debtors.
There we go.
And if you do it cleverly and because to go and borrow money, you have to pay interest.
Yes.
But your creditors, you're not paying interest. So they're actually debt-free. We don't have too many creditors in our world, but
Yes.
that is the better way to do it. So it's called working capital management.
Working capital.
Really, really the most important part of a balance sheet.
And now, according to Stats SA, with the labor force survey that was conducted in last quarter last year, 2024, we are sitting on 31.9% of unemployment.
Yeah.
Now, let's say in an ordinary household of 3 to 5 people in one house, one salary is being used to cater for all these people for our lives. Some kids are going to school, you're going to work. All these things are probably in one umbrella. That additionally to the problem that we have stagnance in salary growth in South Africa. What you're probably earning today is going to be your salary for the next 5 years, which is not feasible because things are changing rapidly all the time. And then adding to that, we do have the volatility of food and petrol prices that are just constantly up and down. We can never really keep up with them, So now with that being said, South Africans are most likely to opt to, what can I take out of my finances that's going to, ease the stress a bit. So now you say, okay, let me cancel my insurance policies because it's a short-term solution remedy. But now tell me, what are the long-term implications of that decision?
See, the challenge that I've been, unfortunately, in this market for 30 years, as you know, and I've seen many families rely on, cutting that insurance bill. It's a short-term gain. And this is the problem. You have to look at your long-term goals as well. So if you cut your insurance, the problem is you're cutting that protection that protects you against the uncontrollable things in your life.
Sure.
A motor car accident. You're not going to necessarily drive into a Suzuki Espresso and have an accident.
Yes.
As luck would have it, sometimes you'll drive into a Porsche. Yes. And unfortunately, when you hit a Porsche and it's your fault and you don't have insurance, you're in for millions and it could destroy your life. I've seen that happen, or a family member passes away and suddenly you have the funeral and you have to pay out 100,000 Rand, 200,000 Rand. You have the whole family that now look to you for support. When you cancel those things are there to cover those things. Medical insurance, for instance, if you have a heart attack,
yes,
going to hospital, it's millions. If you get cancer, these things happen. These are the uncontrollable things that you are insuring for. The things you need to focus is on what you can control. And that's why I said, get rid of those luxury items. Look at rather cutting there, because if you're going to cut that funeral item, guy drives in South Africa, we know, you go out in the morning, you don't know if you're going to come back in the afternoon, unfortunately. It is what it is. You cannot put 10 Rand on the table and say you're going to be back tomorrow morning. And I think that's why you have to insure for those uncontrollable events. And let's be honest, I've seen many people on their deathbeds. You don't lie there thinking, before I know I've got 5 hours left to live, let me just see my car once more.
True.
Or do I want to see my bank? Just bring me my bank statement. I just want to look at my bank balance again. You actually want to see your family. And are you not insuring for them? Are you going to leave them behind and leave a legacy behind? That's the most important people in our lives. That's the person that's going to be standing at your deathbed. So it's important to look to reprioritize at what's important. If you talk to people like Simon Sinek and these big economists, they'll tell you that at their age, or some of the older guys said that if they had to go back, they're billionaires. And they ask them, what would you do if you had another opportunity? They'll say to you that, the money wasn't so important. It's the family that they lost in the process.
Oh, wow.
So it's so important to look after your family. Look at that long-term goal of insuring for your family, because they're the people they're your legacy. That's really what it's all about. And I've seen it time and again. The most important people in life is your family. And you insure for them. And you don't want to leave them in the lurch.
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
Okay, so now we can say that instead of when you're doing your budgeting, instead of taking out the insurance, rather focus on the not so important things, okay? Because you probably don't need a BMW. You'll do fine with your Suzuki Espresso. You'll get by just fine with that, because it's actually doing the exact same job. You just would like to do it in a fancier way than a Suzuki, that is, right?
And I think that's very important. And you got to look at your sort of, how do you balance your expenses? You got to look at a wagon wheel if you had to put a graph together.
Yeah.
The golden rule is to pay 10% to your future self. Because, when you get older, it's not easy to get a job when you get older.
That's true.
So at some point or another, you're going to be without a job and you need a retirement plan. So pay your future self first. Then you take another 10% out and you make sure that you've got medical aid. Well, not necessarily 10% for that,
Yeah.
but you make sure that you've got a medical aid.
Yeah.
And the next thing you got to make sure is you've got at least 10% for those emergency events.
Yes.
And then you start spending on the household, 30% on your household, 10% on your car, 8% on the car. Try and keep the car as low as possible, not 50% on the car.
Yeah.
Your house is normally about 15 to 20% depending on your salary. So you got to look at your wagon wheel. It's got to be a balanced wagon wheel, not 50% to your car and then try and live on the rest.
And then you try and
You got to try and fit in, and those ratios are really important because you've got to save for your future. You've got to save first and then spend. Don't spend and then save. Because if you do it that way around, you'll never have anything left. It's just reprioritizing.
Yeah.
Save first, then spend, but pay your future self.
First.
Those are the golden rules. The guys that make it in life that I've seen, they pay themselves first.
Sure. I think I'm also sometimes guilty of that, where I would probably pay all my stuff and get myself nice things first, and then like, okay,
Whatever's left, save that.
Can I save that? At least I save something. But what you're saying is very important, especially for people who have more stricter dynamics around them. You're not only looking after yourself, but you have your family, of your kids, or even extended family members who are relying on you. So you're gonna have to be very strict on your budget and how you practicalize, let's say, Jannie, practicality, whatever, okay, but that one, how you practically set your life out, so that is very important. What you're saying is very true, like the 10% to pay your future self.
As a minimum.
Save that aside, because one day, who knows, that is literally that timing, that little incy one day of you turning into a millionaire, or someone who's not just relying on your paycheck,
Yeah, and your kids are going to stay behind. They need an education. If at least you have left that behind for them, they can get an education. And that's how you break the poverty cycle.
Yes.
It's not necessarily with you. You may be unfortunately, the guy that's swatting the path.
Yes.
But make sure you pay yourself first. And if you don't use it, your family will use it.
Yes.
And teach them that principle, That's really, really what makes a difference.
I really wish in our cultures, Africans, we can start adopting that. And the reason why I'm saying that is, in most cases, what happens is that you live your journey as a person, and then your kids come up and they start the same process over and over again. There's nothing really that is handed over that we can call generational wealth, or something accumulated that you can build from, So that financial literacy of knowing, pay yourself first, that 10% is definitely something we need to consider.
I grew up poor. My parents couldn't give me 50 cents for pocket money.
Sure.
And that's what we were taught. Pay yourself first. And this wasn't my parents that taught me. Unfortunately, it was somebody else that taught us. You have to have a mentor in life, and make sure you've got those people in your life that help you, guide you in your finances. We tend to want to do it all on our own.
Yeah.
And the problem is we make mistakes, and our needs that we apparently have, they sometimes exceed our income streams.
Yeah.
And then that's when you land up in trouble. You'll go, I'll do it tomorrow. Yes. But unfortunately, tomorrow is quicker than you think. I was 21 just yesterday, and look at me now.
Look at you now. So while we're still on that, what role, rather, do you think financial literacy plays in reducing economic inequality, and how can it be promoted in a more effective way?
I think financial literacy is probably the most important thing, because every single person, every child, I teach my kids, if they get the money, they must put 10 Rand away. They must put 10 Rand away, or 10% away. It's so important, and you got to teach them to budget. You cannot spend more than you earn.
Yeah.
The social or the media will convince you need all these things.
Yes.
And then you will spend more than you earn. You got to learn how to budget. If you can understand budget, you can understand a balance sheet. And a budget's not just what happens with your expense. Also, if you buy an asset, it's now a fixed expense that has now got a long-term implication on your finances. And sometimes it's debilitating, because people buy a car with a balloon payment because it's now affordable. And then they come to the end of the period, then they still have to continue paying. And then, hey, now you're driving that car, instead of for 5 years, you're driving it for 15 years. And also, you know, what's important with that financial literacy, if you can understand these principles, you can control your cost, you know where to go, and also, you know where to move towards. You know, very, very important to budget. Very, very important. And also to understand a balance sheet a little bit. Make a balance sheet of your own. You know, the banks do it nicely. If you go into your FNB account, it'll actually say there that this is your net worth.
Yes.
What's your net worth?
Yes.
Be important. You know, if you're going to watch Facebook for 5 hours a day, rather spend an hour looking at how can I improve my net worth.
That is
Really, really important. Understand budget. Financial literacy is critical. You can't say that you don't know. My wife was terrible. If you give her a credit card, the money is gone. But now she's really good at it.
Oh,
She's
yes.
probably a little bit better than me. No,
That's nice.
but it's important. It's important to understand.
To understand to have financial literacy, rather.
Yeah, financial literacy and understand a balance sheet, understand income. So you don't have to go study an account, become an accountant.
Yes.
But you need to know if I've got so much income coming in, I've got so much expenses, and how much am I paying on my liabilities, and what's left. But make sure you first pay those.
What she's saying is
Future
is reminding me of what my dad taught me as well. Is that when you actually look at the whole day, you actually have a lot of hours in a day.
Yeah.
You know, after having done your normal 9 to 5 job, what are you doing with your extra time? Are you working on yourself? Are you building your future self? You know, so that extra hour does really change a lot in how, or the person you're going to be rather in the future.
Yeah.
You know, so it's very important, I think, for all of us in terms of financial literacy. The nice thing about the world we live in is that we have access to information. You know, information is everywhere and anywhere.
Yeah.
So take that 1 hour of your time instead of spending it on social media and just read through on stuff, educate yourself, and know how better can I maximize my money, how better can I be, or whatever, how can I start my business, how can I do this, you know? Don't be a one-dimensional person, because it's only shooting you in the foot.
And I think the important thing there is also, you know, I think it's important for companies to also start spending time with their staff, you know. And I think one of the things I tell my guys in the finance team, funny enough, you'll think they know these things. They do, but we tend to forget it. You get a promotion. What's the first thing you do?
Get a nice
I see them come here with a new polo. I go, oh, okay, this is nice. But the problem is, we don't think it through properly. Spend a little bit more time and get a mentor. Or get somebody at work that you can ask a question. Go to finance, ask them these questions. I think we tend to want to do all these things on our own. I think very important to get financial literacy. You do the budget, you do all those things, but speak to somebody that knows. Ask them those questions. But, you know, will they listen? We'll see. You know, the car sometimes a little bit more attractive than the advice. But it's very, very important that you do ask people questions. Ask people that know.
Yes.
Ask the finance team. You know, they actually know, even they don't always do it, but they will give you the right advice.
Yes. I think maybe it's another thing we have to, as the young people, where you think you have the time. Let me just spoil myself with the polo now. I mean, I have enough time to save for later. But
it takes another 5 years out of your savings.
By the way. Yes. So we need to not be short-sighted and think for the now, but also think for the long term. All right. So now, while we're still talking about how we play with our money or financial literacy, now let's talk about saving money. We hear that a lot, that you need to save money, but then now how do we go about it effectively to maximize our income and receive a long-term reward? Because now let's take, for instance, we have a pie that is made of 100%. How would you break it down in terms of budgeting, rather?
I think important, like I say, at least 10% towards a pension fund. You'll find most companies pay about 15% to a pension fund. My view is there you need to add another 10%. Put that away for your holiday. Don't wait for your bonus, because you're not necessarily going to get a bonus in South Africa.
Yes.
And it's hard because the companies are all struggling, going through economical crash. So put another 10% away. If you're going to get a bonus, then you've got lots of money to go on holiday for.
Yes, true.
You know? And also, when you do get the bonus and you go on holiday, don't spend the whole bonus on your holiday.
On the holiday.
I find that in January, as a CFO, I get asked lots of questions around, my kids have to go to school. I don't have school fees. Can you give us money? Da, 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 because they spend the whole bonus during December. Try and spend 50% of the bonus. Don't spend the whole 100% of what you get. And then when you look at the rest of it, make sure that you don't spend more than 8% on a car, depending on what you've got there. Household expenses, 20 to 30%. Your house is probably another 20. And then you'll see that the pie closes out nicely. Make sure you've got insurance, over and above the money, and pay the insurance up front. Once you pay those things up front, they're out of the way.
Yes.
And then and what we normally do is then you break it down for the rest of the month. And so I've got so much per week to spend. But don't go over. Try and set those budget limits. Try not to go over those limits. That works probably the best in terms of getting out. And now you're saving automatically.
Yes.
But put in a little bit of extra there. Put in that 10% extra there, and put it in a money market, or kids can get really, really clever.
Now you're going where I want us to go. Okay, so now let's say we have that 10% saved, right?
Yeah.
Currently in South Africa, we have a repo rate sitting at 7.5%.
Yeah.
And then the prime lending percentage is also at 11%. That's very heavily high, but okay, it's there. And then we have our inflation sitting at a safe 3.2, but apparently next few months probably going to settle at a good 4.5, right?
Yeah.
So if now with that money and our banks are giving us a good 8% on average for if you put into a savings account, right?
Yeah.
So with all of this calculated and broken down, you do actually get a little bit out, a good 3.5% annually out.
Yeah.
But then now tell me, do you think that is worthy to put your money in the savings, or should we also be looking at other alternatives, places to put our savings?
I think you have to look at alternatives to put your savings.
Yeah.
Once you tie it up for 90 days, a fixed deposit, you'll get 2 or 3% extra on that. If equities is a different ball game. That's, to me, it's a little bit like gambling. If you're really good at it, go play with a little bit of money there until you get used to it. But I wouldn't go there in the beginning. I think having your money in the interest earning account is great, but it's sometimes better to settle your bond faster, because you're paying a higher interest rate on your bond, and you can use the money again if you need it.
Yes.
Most bonds are flexi bonds, so try and put your money in there, because there you're saving 11, 12% already.
Sure.
Maybe on your house you're paying 13%. Rather put it there, because you're immediately saving, and the term becomes shorter. And you'll find you pay off your debt a lot quicker.
Sure.
If you're going to, because it makes no sense to put in something where you're getting 8%, but you're paying 11% in a different place.
Exactly.
So try and settle those really expensive debts first. Credit card.
If
You've got a credit card, get rid of it immediately, because that one's carrying interest at sometimes up to 33%.
Sure.
Because if you're now going to save 8%, putting in money you think you're saving, but you're actually paying, try and settle those things first. So and then once that is settled, try not to open it up again if you can. But the trick is then, so if I had to put it in an order of priority, I would start settle high interest debt first.
Okay.
You've already put the 10% away.
Yeah.
If you've got some money, settle those high interest debt ones if you can, and then go to the sort of lower ones. And then once you've got free money, then you start putting it into interest, share investment schemes, those kind of things.
Yes.
Then you can go into bonds. You can go into the different bonds. Is probably very safe. We put a lot of money there because it gives us a 12-13% return on our investment.
Sure.
But once the tax comes off, it's also around 8%. So try and settle debt first, and then start looking at your investments. Don't try and be these big investors that go put money in. You can go into all these weird and risky things like SpaceX and Bitcoin, and I hear all these wonderful things out there. They're very lucrative, but if you look at them over the long term, your money has to lie there for a long, long time before you really make anything. So, but if you've got the money and you're lucky and you hit one, just leave it there, it'll grow.
It'll grow itself.
And if it drops, don't try and sell it. Wait, let it live it out.
Let it stay. And
that's investing is a different ball game, and you need to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So initially, like I say, start with the debts, prioritize the high interest ones, go down, and then if you've got some extra money, put it in a bank account and interest. Because if you do it on that basis, you are saving interest anyway, and you are reducing your terms very quickly. By paying something on a house of R1,000,000, if you pay about 1,000, 2,000 rand a month extra on your house, you cut the bond by 5 to 6 years.
True.
And it doesn't seem like a lot, but 5 to 6 years in installments is a lot. It's probably, on a house like that, you're probably saving 3, 4, 500,000 rand.
Oh, wow.
So it makes a significant difference to settle debt quickly. And then you can go and buy the Lamborghini.
With nice things that you want.
Yeah, maybe not the Polo, but buy a, I don't know,
Well, nice.
something big.
Something big. And then when I come in, then Jannie like, that's a
Then
nice
you,
car.
then you can come in and I'll say you earned it. But if you go buy cars at the beginning, it's really nice. But it's a bit of an ego thing.
Yeah.
And the car's old after 2 weeks anyway.
Definitely. That is true. Okay, that's really interesting. Because now, what I'm picking up from what you're saying, that imagine that you have that 8% that is probably what you're going to be getting out from your investment, but on the other side, you're paying something that's growing
much
on
more.
11%. It's way higher. So
You're actually in a negative already.
negative. Yes.
But if you can settle those, you
Yeah.
immediately go into a 3 or 4% positive position. Makes a significant difference.
Okay, that's really interesting. That's a good one, me. Okay. Okay. Now, lastly, this on a general note. Okay, to the youth who are fresh out of varsity, about to get their first jobs, or you probably are already in your first job. You are entering the corporate industry. Now, these people, we call them a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Now, what would you like to paint on your canvas, or words of motivation, inspiration to say to them?
I think it's just that you're a blank canvas. You're in such a perfect position. If I can go back 30 years, I would, with the knowledge I have today, I think I would do things differently. But you don't have the knowledge I have today. But there's things, I think there's always the chicken and egg situation.
Yeah.
I do find that youngsters come to us and say, I've got all the skills and all the education, but I can't find a job. And when they look for a job, they say, but you need experience. And it's like this chicken and egg.
Yeah.
You can't get the job because you don't have experience. And if you don't have skills, you also can't get the job. But I think that, what's being overlooked in the market at the moment is this gig economy.
Okay.
Now, gig economy is a freelance space where you can work and earn lots of money, not necessarily in South Africa. You can work from South Africa in any other space in the world, and they call it the gig economy. You can start your own business, build up the experience, and you'll find that if you get into these gig or these freelance roles, or we've got something at Workerslife where we bring in interns to work for us. You might be there for 2 years, but hey, you've got 2 years experience when you leave, and you've learned a lot in the process. And you can put that on your CV. If you're good, they'll keep you. We keep all the guys that really perform. We try and keep as many as we can. I think this year we keep 60% of the interns. So that's great. So get into intern programs, but don't underestimate these freelance roles. It's not what you want initially, I think, as a youngster, but what we're finding is worldwide, we're finding that 42 to 70% of people are staying in the freelance role because they're independent. They can work from wherever they want, and they earn big money. So it's not just a way to earn money, it's also a way to start your own thing. So, and I think because of COVID, potentially a lot of people went into these sort of freelance because they didn't want to go back to work anymore. And they got into those roles, and they're making really good changes and challenge. And they can work anywhere, on anything. And let's be honest, my daughter's studying to become a chartered accountant. And I think the fear that she has is, what if the AI takes over her role? Will she have a job in the future? This is something that's real for most young people in the world, really, not just South Africa. I mean, when we live in Europe, it's the same challenge. The thing is, the jobs we see today are not the jobs that's going to be here 5 years from now. So you can go study whatever you want, that's great, but it should not be a thing that scares you. It should be an opportunity to grow into it. And these are the things that I think people should look into. And looking at those gig economy roles will get you into the job market very quickly. And it'll form you, because let's be honest, at 18 or 19, you hear about what an accountant is or what a doctor is, but you only really know when you start working. And I do find that sometimes, my daughter was a year in studying to become a doctor, and then she said, this is not for her.
Not for me.
But the problem is at 18, you don't really know what you want to do. And getting into these sort of gig or these freelance roles or internships will get you a feel of what's going out there. and you'll find that sometimes it's a blessing in disguise. I'm
Yeah.
glad my daughter's become a chartered accountant because I didn't want her to become one, but she's probably going to be a better one than I will ever be. But she needed to first find her feet. So go out there, find your feet, break eggs, try everything. You know, you don't bake a cake by putting whole eggs in a cake.
Yes,
You got to break the eggs. Sometimes you win. The cake's great. Sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't taste so nice. Don't put too much salt. But I think so if I can say this to everyone out there, to be a young person today is exciting. It shouldn't be scary. You've got AI, you know, the way we see AI evolving daily in workers' life. I mean, writing reports, it just maximizes our time, changes our world of how we do things, and it gives you information at your tips of your fingers at any point in time, but it needs humans to drive it.
True.
And it needs young people now, because us old people, we wave at our figures when we look at the iPhone.
Yes.
And kids today are just much more attracted to it, really good at it. And there's lots and lots and lots of opportunity out there.
Yes.
And there are no more borders. You can live here and work anywhere.
Yes.
So I think it's an extremely exciting time to live.
Yeah.
I don't think I wanted to live in the dark ages with swords and
Yeah.
spears and arrows. I think I'm very happy to live
To be here now.
with AI.
Yeah.
Even though it scares me as an old person, I sometimes count my years to retirement just to make sure I can survive this onslaught. But I do think it changes everybody's lives, and
Yeah.
I think young people are lucky.
That is true.
But it's hard. But don't throw away this gig economy idea.
Yes.
Freelancing until you find your feet. There's lots of opportunity out there, but you got to just put your, you know, I think the one thing I learned in life is you've got to move your dot.
Yes.
Nobody's going to move it for you. If you've got to go out there and get it. I think if there's one advice I got, is go out there and try something. And don't be afraid. You've got nothing to lose.
That is very, very true. Because adding to what you're saying now, I think the culture or mental indoctrination for everyone was that you have to go to school and try get a job, you know, and we all just move along in that thing. But I don't think we put enough effort into the skills and talents that people have. And that's something that you actually can monetize. And that can be your one key that skyrockets your life and you are set for life, you know. So we definitely, what you're saying is true, that we need to look into the freelancing industry and take it a bit more seriously, because what the nice thing about that space as well is that it shapes you on all dimensions, because now this is your own thing that you are responsible for. So you're the finance guy, you're the HR person, you're the admin, you're this, all in one. So you're learning a bunch and sets of skills in one go, as opposed to just studying what you studied and sticking to that. Because I feel like we're limiting ourselves a lot, where you probably did engineering at school and for whatever reason, you're just not finding employment in that side. And now your mind is just so fixated on that you're not even looking at other alternatives, other doors that are there for you to try and open and get into. So that is a very, very good one.
And I mean, I started off as a chartered accountant. I went into, for 13 years, I built software in South Africa for a living.
Oh, really?
So I built caseware with many of my other colleagues. I was the lead product manager on it.
Oh.
So, you know, what I'm trying to say is, then I came back into the industry and whatever. But what I'm trying to say is I enjoyed that very much, because I was changing the world.
Yes.
But what I'm seeing now is there's an opportunity for you to put your fingers in everywhere and work and let your career mold around you, what suits you. When previously you were either an accountant or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, and you were stuck there. People were known not by you know what they did, they were known from where they worked.
Yes.
You started there and you retired there.
True.
Now you have the freedom to move around. It's almost like you're on a journey.
Yes.
You've got to mold your career around what you want. And there's lots of wonderful opportunity out there, and there's careers that are coming that we don't even know what they are yet.
True.
So to say, you know, I listen to many of these podcasts of these guys internationally, Simon Sinek and many of them, and they talk about these varsties as a farce. You know, people go to college. I'm not saying college is a farce. Please, I studied. I've got degrees and everything.
It's definitely key.
But but there's also new things happening all the time. And don't get bogged down. You know, if you didn't go to college, that doesn't stop you from being amazing.
Yes.
Because I think there's lots of youth that I saw a guy once. He built a little car in Soweto, a little BMW,
Oh yeah.
with mags and everything. It was everything, and then BMW hired him,
Oh,
and he's a
wow.
lead developer there, a product manager. So,
Look at
and he's got no skills. So what does that tell you? It's all about what you can dream up. This is what makes this so wonderful. What you can dream up, you can do. So I think the kids out there, just bear with it, look into those opportunities, and they take people without skills, so go for it. I don't think you've got anything to lose.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Jannie. Thank you. That was very insightful. And as Jannie was saying, that young people, you have the time, you have everything right at the fingertips, right? Right
Yeah.
at your fingertips.
It's all there at your cell phone.
At your cell phone. Yes. So utilize that, because information is really free for all of us. Take advantage of your environment, take advantage of the now times where technology is taking over in such a very vast and quick way. So use that to advantage, learn new skills. Just because you studied something, it doesn't mean that you need to end there. Try out new things, break the egg.
Yeah, break the egg.
Break
Don't be
the egg.
afraid to break some eggs.
Don't be afraid to break some eggs. So thank you so much, Jannie, for your time. Thank you for coming to our studios. And hopefully we'll have you again.
I hope so.
I hope it's not the last time yet.
Thank you.
Okay, so remember that your journey, or your career rather, is what you need to shape up who you're supposed to be. This is one bold move, one learning movement, and one connection at a time. And before you know it, trust and believe that you're going to do great things in this world. Do not hesitate to take time on yourself, build yourself, nourish your thoughts, nourish your movements, nourish your surrounding, nourish your connections, nourish all this you needed as a person to get to where you're supposed to be. Do not limit your thinking. Do not box your surrounding. Do not be conformed or confined by where you come from or the stigmas around you that we're operating by as a people. But find yourself, find who you are, find your voice. And I promise you that once you do that, and you learn these financial tips that we gained today, and you put that into one package and one box, you are about to do tremendously amazing for yourself. But that's it from us today. But this is not the last time you're seeing us. You still are going to see us on your screens. But do not hesitate to communicate with us, because we've got vast channels at Workerslife that you can talk to us from. So on Facebook and LinkedIn, please search us. We are Workerslife. You'll see all these wonderful things that we post and talk about to encourage you to become better people, or also better understand the insurance industry. And not only that, but please do visit our website on www.workerslife.co.za, and then you'll be able to build your cover tailor-made just for you. And on that, our email address is info@Workerslife. Contact us, tell us your problems, tell us how we can help you. If there's anything that you'd like to learn from us, we are here for you. Call us on 0861 520 520. We've got some specialized consultants who are ready to talk to you, who are ready to hear what you have to say. We're here for you. This is Workerslife. We care for the people. We care for Africans, because we are Africans. And that is it from us, because Workerslife, we're protecting your future.